Welcome everybody to week 7, day 2. If you haven't downloaded the free stuff for September yet on the Unreal Engine market, make sure you do that. There's a couple things on here that I might play with over the weekend, and if you guys don't have it downloaded by the end of September, you won't have it ever, unless you want to spend money on it. Who wants to spend money on things that are free? So let's get going again today on Unreal Engine, and we will continue learning about programming. And I might pop out at one point and talk about math, but there's Hitscan weapons that I kind of want to get into, and I want to show that. Did that not launch? Okay, it's taking a while to launch. There we go. And I'm going to load up this one. The dreaded math. I know. I used to have math be a quarter of the grade in this class, and when I got to like the math week, because I had the thing like summer school, 4 weeks, 4 topics. I'm like, it makes sense. I'd get to math week and I was like, nope. And I don't know. Addition, subtraction, multiplication. You need to know math in order to be able to code a game. Like there's just kind of no way around it. But the good news is it's really intuitive and kind of makes sense, and after you sort of learn the terminology, you can just code it really easily. Kena Bridge of Spirits. I heard that's like Breath of the Wild kind of, and Pikmin, kind of a mix of those two things. My frame rate is not doing so well. I'm going to turn off the auto grass. Let's see if that improves. Other than art, it's nothing like Breath of the Wild. Okay. But you recommend it? Am I deleting something? Oh, no. Just make it. Just make it writable. Whatever. Okay. And there we go. Much faster now. All that foliage was slowing me down. Okay, so I showed you guys how to make grass, auto grass. Did I show you that? So you have a material landscape. I showed you how to do like the weighted world line blend, right? And I showed you how to do the material functions. So you have the different material functions coming in here, and then it's lerping between them. We went through all that. And did I go over the auto grass part as well? Where you can do a layer sample and then feed that into a grass output node. Well, I'm disconnecting it for now. You can make a layer automatically generate grass. Okay, I haven't shown you that. Okay, so let me just do that from scratch then. So let's snap that over here, and I'm just going to delete these things here. I'll just make a new one. It doesn't matter. So I'm gonna right click and choose over here foliage landscape grass type. And what this is going to do is it's going to describe, because what I want really is for all the nice green areas here to have some grass grown out of it automatically without needing to paint it. Have I gone over the foliage painting tool? I should probably start with that. Have you guys seen? Yeah, let's start with that then. So under landscape here, there's foliage. So what you can do is you can actually spray paint grasses and trees and things like that onto the world. It's kind of cool. And so add foliage type, and so you might not have all this stuff here. Basically any static mesh can be made as a foliage type. If you only have your starter content, you can spray paint rocks and chairs, I guess. I've got all this different kind of grasses that I've downloaded, Yorkshire fog, stuff like that. So what I can do is I'm just going to select material instance. I'm just going to select all of these versions of the same kind of grass, drag it over here, And then I can just spray paint it, and you can see that it will make various. See how these grasses are all kind of different a little bit. So there's different ones, and they're kind of rotated different ways. So I can just kind of spray paint it around like that, and have a cute little, grassy area. Yorkshire Gold. Spiffing Brit recommends Yorkshire Gold. Okay, so I can just spray paint, right? And when you actually play the game, you can see that there's a lot of grass on the ground. And that adds a lot of realism, stuff like that. So you can see the laser zombies are hunting me. Let's go ahead and kill these guys. Okay. Yep. And so the basic way of doing it is just to spray paint. So you switch over into foliage, you just put some grasses and trees and stuff like that in there, and you just spray paint around, and you can just carpet the area in grass, however you like. But there is a neater way of doing it that has the landscape automatically generate all that grass for you. So I'm going to undo all this. And undo that. And undo that. And now you can see I've got no grass left, so cool. Also, if you want, you can click on any of these things here and choose the density, if it randomly rotates, if you can make them randomly bigger and smaller, if you collide off them. There's a lot of settings when you click on these things, but the default settings work all right, so I just left them as is. So rather than doing that, I'm going to come back into here, and I'm going to not use source control. Disable source control. Hopefully they don't break anything. Assets checkout, really. Make writable. I'm gonna have to make all these things writable because I'm not using source control anymore. Spiffing Pit is perfectly balanced. Yeah, such a great channel. So, so do you guys understand that bit there? You just go into the foliage panel. You put some things that you want to spray paint onto the world, and you just click and drag, and you get grass or whatever. You put anything. If you wanted to, you could put. You could spray paint, I don't know, mannequins or whatever on there. Have a forest of mannequins. Be kind of disturbing, but you could do it. Okay, so rather than doing that, let's have our smart landscape, which all of you have done, I believe. Let's have it generate the grasses for us. So in order to do that, we need to first make go over here, right click, foliage, landscape grass type. And so what this is going to be, it's a very simple, it's just an array. It basically holds this data right here. Like what kinds of grasses do you want to apply, what density, where'd it go? Foliage, landscape grass type. What kind of grasses do you want to appear on your landscape automatically? How dense do you want them? Do you want them randomly taller and shorter? Do you want them randomly rotated? Like it basically just sets all the different details that you would see right here if I were to click on each one of those details. So I'm just going to create a new landscape class grass type for class, and I will call this class grass just because it's funny and rhymes. So I've got class grass, and then I'm going to double click on that, and you can see by default I've got no grass varieties. So I need to click on that maybe twice, maybe 3 times, and so I'm going to come up with 3 different grasses that will automatically appear when I apply them to a layer of the map. So I click down here, and that shows me the details. It's the same details that you get when you click on this, basically. And so grass. So if I wanted to do Yorkshire fog, what is the name of the asset? Yorkshire fog. It's called TKBI. Okay. I'm sure that means something to somebody. Okay. TKBI. There we go. And so we've got a couple different versions of the Yorkshire fog. I'm just going to pick, I don't know, that one. It doesn't really matter. Grass density. This is how many of them appear per 10 square meters. Usually the density is a little bit high by default. I'm just going to leave everything at the default right now and just show you what it looks like. A lot of times I come back in later and tweak them, and that's fine. Every time you come back in later and tweak them, the whole world will update to show you the new results. I'm just going to pick TKBI number 3, and for the third one, I'm going to come in here and go TKBI version 7. I don't know. And yeah, hit save. So again, create a right click, choose create foliage landscape grass type, open up the thing you just created, click on plus to create 3 varieties or more or less, it's up to you, and then click on the little drop down and the drop down to expand it, and the main thing you want to do is pick a mesh, and whatever mesh you pick here is going to be replicated over and over again. And if you don't have grasses and things like that, you can pick a rock or a chair or anything. It'll the principle is the same. There are free foliage packs on the marketplace. Last month in August, they had a sort of a fantasy Breath of the Wild style art pack, which is kind of nice. Let's see here. Let's see what's free. So tons and tons of stuff. Maybe that's the one I'm using right now. Temperate vegetation. Is that the one I'm using? No. It's not. Let's see here. Dynamic grass system. Let's see. There's a lot of free stuff. So stylized nature pack, yeah. Yeah, just pick one of those and add it to your project. Okay. So after you've purchased it, it'll appear in your library down here. And is this search not working again? That's cool. I love it when that happens. Yeah, this is the one that was free last month here. So it has these cool like Breath of the Wild graphics. And then so after you purchase it, click on the thing, click add to project, select your project, and then you are good to go. So I'm just adding these 3 things here, and then I'm just gonna save it and bail out like that. So now that I've got my landscape grass thing, I'm gonna do a grass output node. So I'm just gonna search for landscape grass. And so what this will do is say for whatever layer you want in your landscape, and remember your landscape right now I have 3 different layers, but you can have more or less, it's up to you. So what you do is you say, we're going to be outputting this to a certain layer. And what are we going to output? We're going to output class grass, okay? And you can have a different type of grass for each layer, basically. So you can have meadows have one type of grass and desert have another. I'm just going to do one here. And so what you have to do to hook this thing up is step 1, you make a landscape grass output. That one creates there. You then choose which grass is going to appear when that landscape is attached to it, and then you have to choose which landscape is attached to it, and that is using a landscape sample, a landscape layer sample. And this is kind of an annoying thing. You have to hook this up. Notice that says sample none. you have to very, very carefully type in the name of the layer. So right now I've got 3 layers. I've got WAB, Meadow, and Rock. So if I type in WAB, for example, roll the line blend, then it will produce this grass, class grass, on that layer of the map. So if I save that, come in here, you can see it's thinking. That's a good sign when it's thinking. One of the worst things in Unreal Engine is you do something and just like nothing happens. And sometimes it's because I typed the name of the layer wrong. So you can always verify that your layers exist by coming into the landscape tool here. And let's see. Height map? Where do the layers go? Ah, it's really thinking. Manage. Did I get rid of my layers? There we go, under paint. Okay. So yeah, if you click on paint, you can see what layers exist. You have to spell them exactly. World Align Blend, WB for me, Meadow, and Rock. And if you ever want to clean up your map, you can do so by clicking on one of these layers and just spray painting on there. So yeah, I don't like to look at that rock there. You just spray paint over it. So you can, you know, if you want areas to be rock, you can do that. Now you got a little rocky area there. And you can see that the grass will actually update around it, right? So here we've got our Yorkshire Gold. If I spray paint rock here, then the grasses go away. Okay. So I can come in and just sort of manually do this, and normally I'd have a better looking texture, but this one's okay. It's got a normal map on it. It's all right. Not noticeably tiley, even though I'm seeing that line right there. Or I can spray paint WAB on it, and then that will go back to my smart material texture. And once I'm done with that, then you'll see that it is putting grass everywhere, even on the rocky surfaces, because everything is part of the WAB layer now. So when I go running around now, you'll see that I must have manually overridden this area here. Yeah, as I go running around, you'll see that the grasses, this area is manual meadow. There's no grass here. This is all WAB. Okay. Here comes the laser zombie. Okay. So if I want to make it so it appears on the meadow and not on the WAB layer, so like this area here is marked as meadow, remember you can always spray paint meadow and there. Then I can come back in to my landscape material, landscape smartland. And rather than sampling WAB, I'm going to sample meadow instead. And if you want to have different grass outputs for different layers, you can make a different pin for each one and sample WAB for one, meadow for the other. Meadow, you have to spell it correctly, and then hit save. And a lot of smart landscapes will have 13 different layers on them. You can have areas where the higher elevations are snowy and the lower elevations are rocky on the steep parts, and so there's a lot of ways you can build master materials for landscape. So here you can see now that I've switched it over to meadows having grass. I hit play. It does take a while to load. You can see all the areas that I've marked as meadows have grasses on them, and then the areas that are WAB are not grassy at all. And here I am getting hunted by the laser zombies. Health's going down. Health's going down. And there we go. So, there we go. Any questions about that? That's the short lecture on foliage. You can either spray paint it manually and kind of, you know, be very deliberate in like where you're putting things, or you can have a landscape sample connect to the landscape grass output, and then you just generate foliage automatically based on the grass function, which says this kind of grass is there, this density, this randomness, all that kind of stuff. And you can kind of then come in and clean them up and stuff like that. If it's, for example, you might have grass growing through the side of your building or something. The camera speed's a little bit too high. Yeah, so like if it's growing through the corner of your building, you can come in there and like, I don't know. Yeah, that's part of the grass function. So I'd come into landscape, paint, lab, and then turn that radius way down, and then just kind of come in and manually clean up the areas that kind of intersect my building. That. You notice how the grass sort of fades in. Those are all settings as well. Like the grass sort of appears like that. If you go back into your grass function, then let's see, starting culling distance, ending culling distance. So that's kind of like how far away it is when the grasses appear, stuff. So 100 meters, it'll vanish. And the grasses themselves, LOD, we talked about LOD, right? Level of detail. And so the grasses themselves sometimes don't have the LOD settings set properly on them. So you sometimes have to come in and kind of mess with each individual grass, which is a pain in the ass to do. You choose if they randomly rotate. You can choose if they are tilted on a tilted surface or if they grow up straight. Anyway, do they use the light map of the landscape underneath them, or do they have their own lighting? Do they cast dynamic shadows? And these various things have different frame rate impacts and stuff like that. So, yeah. So here you go. So. So it's complaining at me that the LODs are not correct on the grasses here. So I can come in and select each one of these things that I'm using and change the LOD away from LED auto. Let's see, what is it? LED group foliage, I think. That's how you do that. I think that's what needs to be done. I don't remember off the top of my head. Oh my gosh. All these things make writable. Okay, so yeah, I believe for each one of the things that it complains about, you have to come in and change the LOD group to foliage, and then that warning will go away. But you can also ignore it. It doesn't seem to make too big a difference either. Okay, so that's foliage. Now let's talk about Hitscan weapons. So let's do some programming. So before we do that, let's go into lecture mode a little bit. And let's PowerPoint? No icons? Odd. A hard drive die? What's going on here? No. Weird, it just doesn't have icons. Okay. Okay. So, here's a summary of notes on how you make games interactive. This is our topic for these last couple weeks. So last time we made the glitter bomb weapon. That was last Thursday, I believe. And we did that by spawning an actor. The actor spawned at a location we defined, which was kind of attached to our throat, but a little bit ahead. If you put it too close, it'll bounce off of you, so you need to start it far enough away that it doesn't just fly off into random directions. So that's called a projectile weapon. A projectile weapon puts a bullet into the world. The bullet physically flies through the world until it hits something. Then it calls the touch function, or the on-hit function, or on-overlap function, however you want to put it. But basically it flies until it touches something. Then it calls the code, okay, now what? And last time we were talking about destructible meshes, so that when the thing hits something, it explodes and it shatters the meshes and stuff like that. Just kind of fun to play with. I hope you guys all had fun pretending to be the Kool-Aid Man for your Juggernaut assignment. For those of you that are too young to know what the Kool-Aid Man is, he was this horrifying creature from the 1980s that would like break into people's houses through the walls. That was, I think, the inspiration for the Juggernaut. I don't know. So yeah, he would just, he just smash in through walls and things like that. All right. A little bit terrifying, Family Guy brought it back, yeah. So anyway, last time we did destructible meshes. You can just smash through a wall if you want to. It's kind of fun. Destructible meshes are just right. I mean, tell me if I'm wrong, but that's got to be one of the more fun things to just play with, right? Right click, create destructible mesh, fracture, done. Like the only tricky bit about it is that making it so that it doesn't just shatter under its own weight. Basically, like you put it into the world, it goes and it crumples. So you have to like kind of tweak the values a little bit so that it's weak enough that if you run into it, it shatters, but not so weak it just crumples under its own weight. I was playing with it so much I lost track of time. Good. That's what I want to hear. And my daughter considers Unreal Engine a video game for her, but I'm actually teaching her game development. So who knows? Like maybe in 10 years or so, she'll apply for a job. They're like, how many years of experience do you have with Unreal Engine? And she's like, 12. And they're like, but you're 18. She's like, yeah, I know. which would be pretty amazing. There you go. There's the Juggernaut. Yeah, I don't know if she'll do game development, but she has fun with it. Okay, so that's one thing. Thinking is another thing. We've gone over event tick a little bit. So every frame, or you can have it be every 50 frames or whatever, or every 5 seconds, that the thing will do something. So make a box that beeps every 10 seconds, and then after a minute, it blows up. An example of this would be dust in Counter-Strike. There is a bomb that needs to be defused, and the counter-terrorists are they're trying to disarm the bomb, and the terrorists are defending the bomb, something like that. Do you guys know what I'm talking about? Have you guys ever played Counter-Strike before? Yes? A little bit? Okay. So, yeah. So you would do, for a bomb like that that's already on the map, we would just have a thing called. So every so often it goes beep, 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 Maybe when it gets down to the last 10 seconds, you have it beep faster. Because, that's how terrorists make bombs. They beep to let you know it's about to blow up. And they beep faster, because terrorists give you all sorts of warnings, that their bomb's about to go off, right? It's just movie logic right there. So yeah, so we can make it so that it beeps every so often, and beeps more often the closer it gets to the deadline. That would all be done using thinking. Okay. And then Traceline is what we're going to do today. And there's many different versions of Traceline. We've done a multi-sphere trace for the last couple classes, which finds everybody near a radius point. That's useful for radius weapons like rocket launchers and things like that explode in a radius. But today we're going to make a Hitscan weapon. So visually, what happens is that you pick a starting point, you pick an ending point, and you draw a line through the world. And the game engine handles that raycast, is what it's called. And For those of you that have taken computer science, there are these things called acceleration structures that enable, it's a data structure specifically designed to make that go fast. So you can do this in usually order log-in time. So if you have 1 million objects in the world, you have to check about 20 things. And each of those checks is usually like a couple of if statements or something. So the game engine does it for you. And that's why we use game engines instead of writing our own game engines, because figuring all that stuff out and doing all different kinds of line traces and box traces and sphere traces, it's just a lot of work. And I would rather make my game rather than make an engine. In IS50B, we do some work on making a game engine. Back in spring, we actually wrote a Doom client in the 2 hours of IS50B at the end of the semester, which is kind of fun. Okay, so start is the beginning, end is the end. This is the equation for the ending point. So the starting point is just your starting point. Usually have, like I said, I created a socket coming out of the neck that is where it begins. There's different ways of doing it. You can attach it. You can attach a point to the end of the gun. The gun is a very natural place to put a socket for bullets coming out, right? It's the gun. Maybe it would have been better, but who knows? So, why didn't we do that? I don't know. So, this is the algebra that I was talking about. So you've got something called the forward vector, which is the direction in which you're looking, and it's a unit vector. It's most vectors are normalized. They're 1 centimeter in length, essentially. And if you multiply a vector times a number, it grows in size. Points in the same direction, but it grows in size. And so if you didn't multiply it by the range, then the ending point would just be the starting point plus 1 centimeter in the direction we're looking. And so if you add a vector to another vector, it moves that much in that direction. So we had a starting point, we're looking this way. Without multiplying by range, it would move, the ending point would be 1 centimeter ahead. But if we multiply by range, which could be like 100 meters or something, then the ending point is going to be 100 meters in the direction we're looking. And there you go. There's the math. Okay? Adding 2 vectors, multiplying a vector times a floating point number. That's basically all there is to it. Stop me if you want to know more. So if you have a starting point and you add a vector to it that's pointing in this direction, you get this point here. If you add that forward vector again, if you add it again, if you add it again, multiplication is just repeated addition. So if you move it a centimeter 1,000 times, then it's now 1,000 centimeters in the direction you're looking. Are you guys all going to drop now? Because this is usually when people drop. I didn't sign up for addition and multiplication, man. It's supposed to be came to fill. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what to tell you. You know, one of the students was a younger brother of one of my old computer science students, and he was like, "You got to take the class." And when he got to the math part, he's like, "This isn't what I signed up for." So yeah, that's basically it. Okay, so in the above trace line, we're going to see if the trace lines are used for more than just like guns, right? A lot of times you want to see if like something can see something, right? And so here we want to see if the astronaut can see the UFO, but the Earth's in the way. And so we do a trace line, starting position, ending position, and basically if it contacts anything, then it will the game engine will be like, the trace line did not make it all the way. It was obstructed by this object here. If you're making a gun, then whatever obstructs the line of the bullet is where you're going to hit, right? So you do a little poof, a little bullet decal, do damage to the wall or the person, whatever it hit. But it's useful for like line of sight things too. And so you want to see, like in this case, the ending location could just be the location of the UFO. So you do a trace line from my starting location, my location, to the UFO's location, and if it made it all the way, you can see it. There's nothing blocking it. If there's something in the way, then the trace line gets occluded, it gets stopped, and you can't see it. So this is very useful in AI stuff. Can you can you see something? Like, do you guys understand how that's like a pretty useful thing? Like, if an AI can see you, shoot you, right? Like, this is a very basic tool in your toolbox, yeah? And trace lines are not great, you know, because, like, you got two eyes, right? So technically you should do one trace line from one eye and one trace line from the other eye. Technically you can see somebody, even if all you can see is, like, their shoulder or something, right? And so if you really want to be precise about it, you can shoot trace lines out of both eyes, at both hands and both feet and shoulders and the center point of their head, and see if you can see any part of the person, you know? Because there's a lot of video games in which, like, the AI will do a trace line to, like, the center of your mass. And so what you can do is you can, like, park your center of mass behind, like, a chair, and then the AI will just, like, not react to you. Because they do a trace line towards your center mass, and it's blocked. Sorry, that person's not visible. So you literally, like, hide behind a road sign, you know, like this, and the AI is like, you know, I can't see you. So it depends on how accurate you want to be. So yeah. Yeah, so it'll tell you how far along the trace line got. If you got all the way, it'll be 1, you know, and that means there is an open line of sight between the 2 points. And then another way of interacting with the world is to find all things in the world. And so, for example, kill all players in the world. That's a common thing, right? Nuclear bomb hits, all players in the world die. What you can do is you could say find every player in the world and do 1,000 points of damage to them. Right? In Team Fortress, there's a map called The Rock. And in The Rock, the point is you break into the enemy prison, based on the movie, same name. You break into the enemy prison and you release poison gas in their prison. And it kills everybody on the map, unless you're underwater, or if you have a gas mask on. So you release the gas, there's a countdown timer for like a few seconds, and then it does a find. And literally just says find all players on the map. If that player has a gas mask on, they're fine. If they're underwater, they're fine. Otherwise, kill them. And that's a very simple thing to do. You don't have to do all these radius searches and things like that. You just say, give me all players, and then murder them. So, and then find radius is useful for things like what we just did in the last couple classes. Give me everything around a certain point and do something to it. So, for example, a rocket launcher, damage everything within a certain radius, kick back things within a certain radius, things like that. So these are your basic tools for working with stuff in a game, and that's basically it. Like, raycasting, radius searches. It's basically your tools. So we're gonna make a Traceline weapon today in Unreal Engine. Oh, there's the icons. I don't know what's going on with that. My hard drive's dying. And so and the reason why I loaded up this world instead of the one I've been using for this class is because I already have a Traceline weapon in it. Hey, that's convenient. Yeah. So you can see it's got a laser beam. The laser beam has sparkles when it hits something. And it doesn't sparkle if it doesn't hit anything. So you can see there's a little puff effect on it when it touches things. Okay. Even these invisible things. Aha, stupid AI. Stupid human. So that's why I wanted to show you this one, so I can show you how this works. All right, so how do we do a Traceline weapon? First of all, let's bind an action key. Let's take it step by step. Step 1, come up into here and go into project settings, go into input, and we're going to create a new binding. That's right, this was supposed to be a split screen game. Huh. Well, I'm going to make a new action mapping here. Axis mappings are for things that can be between 0 and 1. For example, if you have like a thumbstick or something like that, where you can push it up slightly or something like that, or the mouse kind of stuff. For an action mapping, though, that's either true or false. So I'm going to make a new action mapping, and I'm going to call this second attack or something. Fire. I don't know. Flamethrower. We'll make a flamethrower weapon. Okay. So we're going to do a Hitscan flamethrower. So, fire, I'll just call it fire 2, right-click fire, alt-fire, alt-fire? Alt-fire, yeah. Alt-fire. Okay. And by default, I'm going to bind this to right-click. Okay, so you can click on that little thing there, right-click. Or you can hunt down here and go into mouse and pick the things out. That way, it's all good. And then you can make it so that if you shift-click or something, you get a different thing. But I just want right-click. So that is that. So we now have a new binding, which is the flamethrower, the fire 2 button. And now I'm going to come into third-person blueprints, third-person character. And here we have the first-person character here. I've added some cool particle effects to it that kind of follow him around as he moves. You can see they sort of glow and fade and glow and fade. Kind of going for some sort of like sci-fi, effect there. I don't know. I'm not really sure why. It just looks cool. So that model of the gun was made by Mike Scrun, one of the employees at Columbus Community College. There was actually a lot more to it than that, but when it got to me, it was broken, and I had to kind of put the thing together myself. And I got it like hours before the game jam was over, so I really didn't have time to do much more than that. So we'll come over into the event graph, and we are going to, what is this, sprint system, create health bar. This is HUD. Talk about HUDs some other day, so you can have your health and stuff set up. So what we're going to do is just make a new flamethrower weapon. So laser beams check. I don't know if you guys got the reference to that. It's Metalocalypse. So event anti-damage. Okay, so we'll make our new thing over here. That seems like a good place for it on our blueprints area. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to right click and I'm going to choose Alt Fire. So now that I made a keybind for Alt Fire, there is an Alt Fire event here. Voila. And so I can make it do something when I right click, which is this one, and I make it do something when I release the right click, which is this one. I don't really want anything to happen when we release. So we're not going to use that second part there. And then, yeah, we don't care about that either. So let's just do this. Okay. So we're going to do a line trace. And we're going to do a line trace by channel. And so what this is going to do, it's going to draw an invisible line through the world. And if you want to see where the invisible line is, you can turn on trace shell display trace complex. Draw debug type to be duration. And the duration will be 5 seconds by default. It's usually a little bit long. I'll turn it down about 3 seconds. And so you can turn on the debugging stuff to see if you're doing the trace lines correctly. Because if you mess up the math, like if you forget to set one of these variables here, Then it's going to trace line from the world origin to the world origin. You're going to see absolutely nothing appear on the screen. And again, that's the worst part of Unreal Engine, which is you do stuff and then just nothing happens. And you're like, huh? You know? And then you have to click around and feel like an idiot for half an hour until you find out, oh yeah, I forgot to set one of these things. So this is the starting point for the line. This is the ending point for the line. Starting point for the line will be, let's see here, we got a gun. Let's see, where's my gun? Here. So that dot there is the origin of the gun. So I kind of want to have it, kind of want to add a socket to that, really. Let's see here, add component. Try that. We'll add a scene component to it. And this is going to be the gun tip, gun point, shooting point. Give me barrel opening. I don't know. I got nothing. And let's see here. This is going to, because it's parented to the gun, you see it moves around as the gun moves around. And so, if you could stop moving for a second. Nope. Dang it. Barrel opening. Let's see, you. Turn off the animation. Where is that? Let me just do that for now. Okay, so for you, the barrel opening is going to be up here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to just move this point over the tip of the gun. That. And I'm doing this so that I can get a point for starting my trace line. Okay. So it's going to be a little bit in front. That's fine. About a centimeter or so in front of the gun. And now if I start animating the thing again, blueprint, there we go. You'll see that the barrel opening tracks the gun because it's a child of the gun. So wherever the gun moves, the barrel opening moves and it points in the right direction. And it's, I'm going to need to rotate it. So barrel opening, I'm going to rotate 90 degrees around the Z direction. And let's see here. Now, because X is forward in Unreal Engine, X is forward. So the red line needs to be pointed outwards because we're going to be getting the forward vector out of this thing. Okay, so this is a clever. This is like what we did last time with the socket, where we attach a socket to the person's neck. This is probably a better way of doing it because make writable. Because it's actually attached to the gun rather than the person's neck, right? So cool. So we've got a barrel opening here. I'm going to come back into the event graph, and I'm going to drag out the barrel opening onto here. And I'm going to, let's see, get location. Get the world location of you. You're the beginning point. And then the ending point is going to be, again, the barrel plus the direction we're looking times 1,000 or whatever. So it's going to be the direction we're the barrel plus. It's going to be the barrel plus, and this will be the direction we're looking times 1,000. So let's a little bit of room here. How do we get the direction we're looking? The camera is usually the easiest way of doing it. Let's see here. Laser boy. Let's see. Camera. Let's see. Yeah, so I have a thing set up also for the camera that gives me my forward vector, so I'm going to drag that out. But you can just use the forward camera if you want. And I'm going to say get forward vector. And so this tells me the direction I'm looking. Okay. So that's the direction I'm looking. That's the forward vector. So I do over here, right? Yeah, okay. Okay, so that's the direction I'm looking, and I'm simply going to multiply this by a number, and this is the range of my flamethrower. And I can make a variable over here called range, or I can do it directly. If you click on any of these pins, you can always right-click on them and choose Promote to Variable. And so this is going to make a new variable called new variable 0, which I'm going to come over here and rename to be flamethrower range, like that. And you have to compile it and save it when you do that, otherwise this won't appear. And then you can set the default value of it. So I'm going to set the default value to be 10 meters. I don't think flamethrowers should be really long range. I don't know. We'll play with it, see if this works. So math. This is the direction we're looking, which is a centimeter. It's pointed in the direction we're looking. It's 1 centimeter long. If we multiply it by 1,000, it is now 1,000 centimeters long in the direction we're looking. And then we add that to the barrel to get the barrel plus 1,000 in the direction we're looking, and that's our ending point. So this bit of math that we did right here, you will see over and over and over again in game development. This equation of starting point to start, starting point plus look vector times a range is one of those classic formulas that people just use over and over again. So before I screenshot, I should make sure this works on. But let's go ahead and compile this and see if it works. So over here and play. Apologies again. I don't know why it takes so long to load. Okay, so there we go. So when I right click, it draws a trace line. And if it hits a laser zombie, you can see that it sort of, you see that? Like it shows you that the trace line could have gone on further, but the red part is the initial part of the ray cast, and then the green part is everything after it hit. So you can kind of see what it would have hit had it made it to the full range. And so that's all we have right now. So right now we have a weapon that when we right click, it shoots a dang, I'm getting rocked. Okay. So we have a weapon that shoots a trace line. It doesn't do anything with it, it just shoots a trace line. Okay. Does this make sense to you guys so far? It's been nothing posted on Discord for 20 minutes. So, if you get this, then basically you're good to go, because now the question is, did I hit something? If I hit something, do something. If I didn't hit something, I don't know, do something. I don't know. That's because you're watching. That's cool. That's cool. Yeah. All right. So I'm gonna turn off the draw debug because I know that it works now. And what I'm gonna do is I'm going to say what happens if we hit. And so you can split this output pin here, like that. And this is all the information you get on a hit, which is a lot, by the way. You get a lot of information when you hit something. And they're all useful in different contexts. Like if you want to know what material you hit, or physical material, you hit, you can get that. You can, if you hit a skeletal actor, you can get the name of the bone you hit. So if you hit the head, do double damage, right? There's just all sorts of very rich information here. How'd you make the character hold the gun? Yeah. I can show you that real fast. So, So this is a skeletal mesh. Remember last time I came in and I right-clicked and I added a socket to it. So right here I added a socket to the gun, and it's kind of attached to the dude's wrist, I guess. I probably should slide it forward, but whatever. I got it working, so it's all good. And preview animation. You can see that the gun socket kind of moves around with it, and right. So then the gun attaches to the gun socket. Okay. And yeah, I think there it is. So the plasma rifle, its parent socket is gun socket. So it's literally clicked in there. It's kind of like in Legos, how like the people have a head socket. You like click different hairs and hats and things like that onto somebody in Legos. It's literally the same idea. You can put a socket on the head, and then when you switch out the hats, you just say attach the hat to the head socket, and it goes bloop, and it appears right there. How do you make it shoot? Okay, so that's where we're at right now. So we just did a line trace. This is shooting technically, it just doesn't do anything. So what we want is to, spawn fire wherever it hit. Something. So let's figure out if it hit. Did it hit anything? 'Cause that's a good question. So all right. So did it hit anything? This is the starting point. This is the ending point. True if there's a hit, false otherwise. So if there's a hit, then let's play some flames. Spawn emitter at location. And so the location is going to be the endpoint. No, sorry. Location is going to be the impact point. Or the hit location. What's the difference between those? I don't know. Let's find out. Okay, so, and then we're going to spawn a fire effect at the location, and yeah, let's just do that. Compiling shaders. Shaders are like little programs that run inside of your game. So you can see every time I right click, it's doing a trace line, and the zombie comes at me. You can see the fire spawns on the zombies. See that in midair? But if I just shoot the ground, then the ground lights up. But I have to click over and over again. This doesn't feel like a flamethrower to me. It doesn't feel like a flamethrower because flamethrower is, it feels like you should hold it down, kind of like this. You just like hold it down and fire comes out and stuff like that. Also, these fires don't ever go away, which is gonna absolutely tank your frame rate. But you can be the twisted fire starter and just completely light up the world with what we have right now. I set fire to the rain. There we go. Okay, like Adele, twisted fire starter's prodigy, by the way. Okay, so that is a Traceline weapon. And so rather than spawning an emitter, we can do damage and things like that as well. So, let's do a little damage, I guess. Explosion. And then if we hit a zombie, let's damage them. Okay, so the person we hit is the hit actor. And so how do you say if I hit a zombie? Because that hit actor is of type actor. It could be any type thing. It could be a rock. It could be the ground. It could be glass. How do we know if what we hit was a zombie? Do you guys remember the node for that? Actor name? Yeah, it's cast to and then the actor name. Laser cast to zombie. Yeah, there. Cast to zombie blueprint. So that is the name of my laser zombie class. And so if we shoot a rock or something, then we can, I don't know, just spawn an emitter or something. Oh no, we're already doing that. Yeah, fine. We'll do an explosion. But if we hit a zombie, then we will damage them. And so that will come out here. We're going to call the damage function. We've gone over that before, I think, in this class. And so we're going to do DPS is 100. So we'll do 100 damage to the zombie. Compile, save. Play. So it does a little explosion every time we right click, and if we right click a lot, we can get a lot of these explosions. So one thing we need to do is add a firing delay into it, right? But if we hit these zombies, you can see I can blow them away pretty quickly. This isn't exactly a flamethrower. Like I said, a flamethrower should have like a stream of fire coming out. But to do that properly, we'll need to do a better particle effect system. There you go, we're at the club. There we go. Cleaned out the club. I don't know if you can hear the club music. Here. Switch the streaming over. Share screen. Change windows to that. Was the music coming through at all? Or? Do you hear how it's attenuated? So when you jump down, it gets quieter. And like there's like a low pass filter going on, so you hear more of the lower notes. You hear it attenuate down. I don't know, you can hear a little bit of the bass coming through. My daughter added this route. And she added a secret ocean on the inside of the skyscraper. So she built this whole pool inside of here. and a secret exit out of it. That's what she does for fun. Okay. Yeah, that's obviously an asset. We did not build that. Okay, so that is a Hitscan weapon. What I kind of want, though, is for it to produce a stream of fire. What do we got left? 20 minutes. So what I kind of want is, like, when I right-click for it to start firing, and when I release for it to stop firing. Right? So, yeah, like a flamethrower. So what I really want to do is not this. What I want is just when I press it, I've already got a firing. Okay, we'll do Alt Fire. You can see I actually did this for for the other one. Like when you hold down, the laser beam comes out. So what I really want is Alt Fire. Okay, so so when we press the right click button, we are going to set Alt Fire to be true. And when we release it, we are going to set Alt Fire to be false. That makes sense? And then what we do is we say on event tick, do this. If firing is being held. Okay. If we're holding both down, let's just do the laser beam, I guess. So here's my event tick. And so every tick is checking to see if firing is being held. If it is, then it starts shooting the laser beam. If we're not holding down left click, then let's check to see if right click is being held. So I have to make a little bit of room for this. So get Alt Fire, and you can drag Alt Fire right onto that pin there, and it'll hook it up for you automatically. It's pretty neat. So if So if we're holding down left click, then we're going to go through the normal laser beam process. If we're holding down right click, then we're going to go through the flamethrower process. And so this is going to look, I think that's actually pretty good. So let's just run that. And now it's going to do way too much damage, by the way. Because I had it set so that every right click was 100 points of damage, which is enough to kill a zombie. Zombies have 100 life. So now it's going to do 100 damage per second, or per frame, rather. So each frame is going to do 100 damage. It's going to absolutely murder. So there we go. So I'm holding it down. And that looks pretty cool, I think. I don't know. I need a stream of particles coming out. But that, yeah, those zombies got no chance. The only downside to it is that it's got a range of right about there. If I look up, you see how it's not hitting anything? So right now, if we don't hit anything, it just doesn't draw anything, right? So we got a short range flamethrower weapon here. And if we sprint over here, you can see that's about the range on the flamethrower. So already that looks like pretty good. And that's just using this standard art asset on the thing. There we go. Get wrecked, zombies. There we go. Okay. Yeah, I think it looks cool too. So, we kind of need now just to do a particle effect on it, right? Like, do a particle effect. Okay, so how do we do particle effects? Well, you can buy them if you want. Most video game flamethrowers are about the range. Yeah, that feels. Yeah, it felt pretty good to me. We kind of need to do something. We need to have a flame coming out, right? So that's something we need to add. Mic plasma. Okay, that's his plasma rifle. Sounds. Those are my sounds. We've already gone over putting sounds in. let's see here. These are all my animations. Okay. So we're just going to make a Niagara emitter. Okay. So right click, FX, I'm going to make a Niagara emitter, and then I'm going to make a Niagara system out of it. So there's kind of 2 steps to making a particle effect, and I'm going to give you the 13-minute version of it. Okay. So for your homework assignment due on Tuesday, I want you to make some sort of Hitscan weapon. It could be a flamethrower, it could be a laser cannon, whatever, that does the Traceline and has a particle effect attached to it. Okay. So a gun, yeah, whatever, any kind of Hitscan weapon. Last time we did a projectile weapon. This time we'll do a Hitscan weapon. Okay, not with like physical bullets. We did that last time, where you spawn something and the thing moves, and when it hits, it does something. This is the other kind of weapon, which is a Hitscan weapon. Okay. So let's do Niagara emitter, and we are going to create a new emitter. And they've got some existing particle effects that are that'll start you off in kind of a good place. Static beam, upward burst mesh. That would be nice for the impact, maybe. Fountain, directional burst. What do you think? It's a sprite where it just draws a picture exploding. You can't. Oh, you can't. Oh, it's not showing. Oh, dang. Yeah, that's right. Change windows to screen 2. There we go. So let me cancel this. Okay. So right click and go to FX, Niagara emitter, new emitter, and directional burst. Okay, sure, let's do that. Directional burst. Okay. So we'll start off with that, and this will be called Flame Boy. Okay, so Flame Boy, you can see over here, the little default directional burst is kind of bloop, bloop. It lasts for a total of like 1.75 seconds, I think. And this is a different thing than probably what you're used to, so let me kind of explain what you're looking at here. When you do this, when you spawn the emitter, it starts kind of at the top and it goes down. So it's sort of executed a little bit at a time. And on the right hand side here, you can see there's tons and tons of properties that are available. And in general, you want to kind of leave them alone until you know what you're doing. And you can kind of just go through here and just click on these things and see kind of what's happening here. Emitter update. So let's see, loop behavior once. So this this emitter does not loop because it plays once. Now if we set it to infinite, then the thing will play forever. So each time you spawn it, it will run forever. Okay. Or you can choose it to run 5 times. Right? So now the thing plays 2, 3, 4, 5, and then it starts over. So there's all sorts of different options there. I think we'll just do a once maybe. And then it lasts for a second. Well, we're not doing a loop, so it doesn't matter. Spawn count. How many? So we're doing a 750. Look, there's more particles now. You see that? Or you can set it to 50. You just get a couple. So basically, what you're going to do is you're just going to go down the line here, and remember, there's always the left arrow here where you can set the spawn count. No, 1 is way too small. Do 750, and yeah, that default is way too long too. Okay, so okay. More details. Okay. That all looks fine to me. So it's going to spawn 750 particles. And so like when we hit something, it'll like scatter in like a wave by default right now, okay? So we click on emitter state, life cycle mode, self, and active response. Oh, that's the same thing we're just looking at there. And this is the same thing we're looking at there. Okay, so now we're down in particle spawn. And this has two components to it, initialize particle and add velocity and cone. Okay, so you can click on the individual things here, or you can click on the parent and you can see both of them. Okay. Can you recolor the particles from this menu? Absolutely. So let's click on Initialize Particle. And so lifetime mode random, so these particles last between 0.8 and 1.75 seconds. So maybe we can have some of the last 5 seconds. You can see they run quite a lot longer, right? And it's sort of random, so let's put that on 5. And here's the color. So you can set a random color, you can set a fixed color, you can do a color picker and make them red because we want to do flamethrowers. There you go, you got a little red particle splashy effect. Random range, so I can make it range from like bright red, bright red to like 0.5. I'll just set these things directly like that. And so you'll get some that are different colors, you know, some brighter red, some darker red. Maybe we can allow a little bit of green in there, a little bit of blue in there. And so you'll get kind of like different colors in there. I'll just direct set it to red. I don't know. Position mode, simulation position. Direct position. Owner or okay, yeah, so that's fine. And then how much mass each particle has. Okay. Sprite size mode, so you can choose, are some of the sprites bigger or smaller? Sprite size minimum, maybe 1, maximum of 100. Right? It's kind of cool. It's a neat effect. So you can get some bigger sprites, some smaller sprites. And these are all things you just play with until they kind of look right. Might be too variable. Okay. Looks like a blood splatter. Yeah, it kind of does, huh? Yeah. Sprite rotation mode. I don't think it matters because they're sprites. Doesn't matter. Let's see here. Okay. So this is what's causing them to kind of spray out, right? Is the add velocity and cone. And if you don't want to use that, there's all sorts of other options. You can have them explode outwards. Let's see here. From point, maybe. Let's turn that off. There we go. So you can see now it's just. And why is it falling? Well, because we got gravity as well. So if we wanted, we can have it go upwards instead of downwards. Right. That's kind of cool. So add velocity from point. So coming from the origin, it's going to explode outwards with a velocity of 300. And now you got like a cool firework effect. And the gravity force is kind of pulling it upwards at the same time. So let's play with it. So that looks like a fireworks now, right? Orangish red would be better for fire. I agree. So let's see here. Torres, if you wanna give me an RGB value, I'll plug it in. Okay. So add velocity from point causes it to explode outwards. And you can see that the particles of different sizes on there. It's kind of a cool look. That's fine. Okay. You can do both. And so it comes both forwards and like a narrower angle. Right? Minimum, maximum. It's kind of cool. I kind of like that. Choose the direction that it comes out in. Let's see. So this one comes up. Kind of cool. It could also be gray for the smoke. Yeah, so we can change the color over time so that it turns gray, right? So we got a drag on here. If we turn drag off, then it just goes, right? So we turn drag on, and it'll slow down over time. Gravity comes down a little bit. Particle state, particles when lifetime is over. Yeah, we definitely want that. Okay. Yeah, there's a lot of. If you click on the plus, you can add all sorts of things to it. Just add a velocity. Add 500 in the X direction. And okay, and then under particle update, so particle spawn happens once, right? So RGB 182.34.3, so emitter state, spawn burst. Where are you? Particle spawn. There we are. Okay, so 182. You got. Can you convert that to float for me? Let's see. You go 0 to 255. No options there. Let's see, 182.30. So fine, I'll do it myself. 0.7. 7 followed by like 0.15. Okay, so then particle state, drag, scale color. Yeah, so the color is changing. Oh, we're almost out of time too. Dang. Oh, so right now it's fading to transparent, and RGB isn't scaling at all. So we can yeah, we're basically out of time. But yeah, you can make it turn to white. I think I did that on mine. Solve forces and velocity. You need that in there so the particles move. So every time it updates, particles move. And then you can, let's turn that off. So that way the particles don't change shape. It is kind of cool to have them stretch in the direction they're moving. It's kind of cool. But, yeah, maybe we'll leave that on. And then nothing happens here, and you can change lots of things here as well. The default sprite material can be changed. Yeah, okay, so let's just save that. So we got Flameboy done, and then we're going to go Flameboy, right click, create Niagara system out of it, and this one will be called, where are you? Where'd it go? Flameboy system, there you are. Okay. And it's basically the same things, but in a what's called a Niagara system. Now, okay. All right, so what we want to do is, rather than doing the emitter, what we're going to do is spawn Niagara system application. And so for this, we are going to pick Flameboy system. And then it's basically going to be the same thing as our explosion thing, except it's going to be our new Niagara thing instead. So the hit location goes in there, and I think all the rest of you is a-okay. All right, let's try that. So basically, spawn a Niagara system instead of an emitter. An emitter is like the version 1. Then they had a different particle system called Cascade, I think. And now they have Niagara. So let's see if this works. There we go. Yeah. All right. Let's see. I think that one I'm going to turn off. Let's try that again. So it's always adding velocity in the x direction, which I don't think I want. Yeah, the cone is aligned with the x-axis. So no matter which way I'm looking, you see that? It's always pointed. It's always pointed in the x-axis. But that's a pretty cool looking flamethrower. Okay. So what we can do is create a variable, which is the direction, or maybe we can probably inherit the direction. Here, rotation, yeah, that's what we want here. We want the rotation of the player fed into that. So get world rotation of the camera. Feed that in there. And then this will rotate the Niagara system, hopefully correctly. If not, we'll have to play with it. Or in the Niagara system, you can also pass in variables. There we go. Good. It's working properly now. So there you go. That's sorry we went 5 minutes over. I hope it was worth it. It looks kind of cool. We just need, if we're not hitting anything, I think we just need to spawn it like a little bit in front of us. So I'm going to do one more thing. Sorry, I asked 50B people. So if we don't hit anything, then... You know what? I'm just going to do this instead. I'm just going to have it always, because it's a flamethrower, right? So we'll just have it come from our barrel every time. And then I'm just going to move this. I'm going to do a little shoop-de-doo here. Play an Uno reverse card. And so basically it's always going to do the flamethrower. There's probably a better way of doing it, but we're already out of time. So now the flame will always draw. Yeah, hopefully ISFDB people, you'll like this too. Okay. There we go. It's a little bit in our face, huh? So let's do the world location. Let's do our starting point plus like a meter in front of us, maybe. So our starting location plus the forward vector times 1,000. No, it's 100. So a meter in front of us, we will, and there's that same pattern I told you about again. So it's not going to be quite up in our face. It'll be starting about a meter in front. And let's just see how this runs. Yeah, it's a little painful looking right now, and we can adjust the cone, and like it's still a little much right now. I think we need to make the cone narrower and add more. It's too much out right now. So Flame Boy velocity outwards will be just a little bit, and velocity in the cone, it's got a 30-degree cone right now. Let's just make this about 800 to 1200. Let's try that. There we go. That looks pretty sick, dude. Yeah. Does damage. Yeah. It works. You're going to be eating some of the particles yourself if you sprint forward. Should probably do damage to yourself, huh? If you do that. But that's a flamethrower. Okay, fully operational, does damage, does particles, does a trace line. That's your assignment for next Tuesday. Okay, so that's it for you guys. 50A, 50B people, you're up now.